Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. This is Tune Up Your Registration Funnel, and it's part 4 of our Revitalize Your Marketing Program series. Before we get started on the webinar today, I wanted to take a second to make sure everyone's comfortable in this environment and with some of the tools and resources we have available for you. So first, I'll call to your attention the resources widget over on the top left-hand side of your screen. The resources widget is going to enable you to download and listen to the recordings of the previous webinars that we've offered in this series. So if you weren't able to attend with us on those, fear not, you can get all caught up right there with the links over on the top left. Next, we have the Q&A widget, and my colleagues and I are going to be in answering your questions as they come up today during the webinar. So feel free to type to us. You'll be typing to us privately, so ask any question you want. And if we don't happen to be able to reach your question today, we'll be sure to follow up with you via email after the webinar takes place. Lastly, but not least definitely, is the slides widget, and that is going to be in the center of your screen. And if that feels a little bit too small for you, you can actually tug at the bottom right-hand corner of that slides widget, make it nice and large so you can see all of the content really clearly and read everything that's up on the screen as we go through. Really quickly, before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself just so you have a little bit of an idea of who I am and what I do here at Active. So my name's Cameron, if we haven't met at one of these webinars before, and I'm a digital marketing consultant here at Active. And what that means is I don't actually do any marketing for Active as a company at all. I get to, and my team and I get to, work just with our customers on helping them improve their marketing savvy, understand new and emerging trends that are happening in the business, especially as it pertains to the digital world. And that can be anything from Google Analytics to Facebook advertising to search engine optimization, so that process of improving your website. As you can see here, I'm also the mom of 3 very busy kids. I've signed them up for lots and lots of different activities over the years, and I know a good from a bad registration experience when I see one. So having that kind of firsthand knowledge as a parent, I think definitely helps me in my job, and definitely those experiences are what comes to mind when we are going to be talking about today's series, which is going through that registration funnel. The whole premise of this particular series that we're doing has been helping you as a small to medium business owner or employee understand your marketing a little bit better, where you've been effective, and where things might need to demonstrate a little improvement. So when my team and I work with customers, we tend to notice a couple things. One is that our customers tend to focus on their outbound marketing a lot more than they focus on their inbound marketing. So customers that are already coming into them through search don't always get a priority over finding new customers. So that's one of the ways that your marketing might need to be tuned up. We also notice that there tends to be a tendency toward asking us or wanting to really focus on paid search as opposed to organic search and organic position. So paid obviously is going to be advertisements, flyers, very often emails, anything that you can do that costs money, whereas organic, we're focusing on things a lot like word of mouth, referral programs, and that organic position on the web. So how good is your website at attracting customers? How well are you positioned in the virtual world to just automatically attract and obtain those views on your website? And then the next thing we notice is that a lot of people focus on, again, those new customers versus existing customers. And with today's consumers, how they tend to be very invested in loyalty programs, they tend to be very invested in recognition. It's really important to focus a lot of your discounts, a lot of your benefits and special services on your existing customers. So today what we're going to be talking about is the registration funnel specifically, and that's that pathway that parents are utilizing when they go through and they sign their child up for programs. And we want to have a really good understanding of that process. And similar to how your bucket might be leaking in this regard, we want to know, can your registration process be improved? And we have some very specific ways and technical ways of looking at that information. If you weren't able to join us for our previous webinars, we have lots and lots of research loaded up in those webinars. We did a survey this year of over 1,900 parents all across the country, and we asked them how they generally find programs and activities. And we asked them a lot about their tendencies when they're doing search, who they listen to in terms of their influencers. And what we find again and again is that friends, their own children, and then people who they would consider thought leaders with their kids. So that would be teachers, coaches, other youth mentors. They really lead the way in terms of being people who are promoters or people who are influential in the decision that they make about their programs. But just behind that, one of the only things that you can control directly or have some influence over is the fact that all of these parents are out there doing online searches. So what they find out about you on the internet and through that research is very important, and something that, as you can see here with the dark gray bar, that a very high percentage of parents all across the different age groups are engaged with. Next, what we find is that most parents are going to online search to learn more about camps and programs, activities, classes that are offered for their children. And inevitably, part of that online search is going to be the sales process, or part of their information gathering is going to include the sales process of going through your registration form. So it's really important that you have that registration opportunity for parents as dialed in as possible. And again, we have a couple recommendations about how you can view people's perceptions of your registration without even having to ask them or survey them. We can tell all of this with some of the user data that I'm going to show to you, so we can get through tools like Google Analytics.
Now, we know what our missions are and we know what the goal is, but there may be several obstacles keeping you from achieving your goals. Our account managers are always looking for ways to help organizations grow. We collected some challenges in areas of participant management, marketing, administration that programs just like yours encounter every day. We listed them on the slides throughout the presentation so you can see and hear how we resolve them. Feel free to submit your challenges through the QA widget, and we'll reach out to you with how we might be able to help. The most obvious challenge is knowing how you're going to be able to securely register and manage your participants' data. After all, you can't have a program without participants. Some of you may even have to do this across multiple locations.
So what exactly is a registration funnel or a sales funnel? What does that look like for our purposes? So the funnel is that process of getting someone, a parent probably, who's registering their child from point A to point Z of your registration forms. So they might start the process, depending upon the type of software you have, with creating an account, then move through selecting programs, onto their participation questions, etc., things that they need to fill out. Finally, proceeding all the way through checkout and then confirmation. So that's what we would consider a conversion through the funnel. And what we can do as a digital marketing team, and this is a completely free service, is we integrate our Camp and Class Manager registration system with your Google Analytics. So what we're looking at over here on the right is a slice of someone's registration form. And so you can see this at any period of time, so you can look over the whole year or over the quarter, compare quarter to quarter, and see exactly how people are progressing through your registration forms. And you can see where there's a lot of fallout. So for example, over here on this picture, we can see that at the checkout page, there's 355 people who, instead of proceeding to that active confirmation page, are dropping out. So that might be an opportunity for us to look at and check out that consumer behavior, ask ourselves some questions about how we can improve or shore up that checkout process. So we know from working with so many different customers across the industry that the average conversion rate for programs is 12.5%. So after we have someone live and they're up and processing and taking registrations for a little while, we can actually take a look and see how their conversion rate compares to that of other customers that we work with. And so we always want to make sure that we're constantly moving the needle and continuing to improve upon those registrations and that registration conversion percentage. So after we, the digital marketing consultant team, have done that free integration between Google Analytics and your Camp and Class Manager registration system, we'll go through with you and we'll take that next step of helping you understand the funnel and seeing where there might be some drop-off happening. And some of that actually starts outside of the registration system, and we do have to look to your website and make sure that people are getting the right information that they need so that they feel prepared as consumers once they do enter that registration funnel. One of the big things that we have noted when we were designing the system and putting it together is that 35% of prospects say that they leave registration or they don't complete a transaction because they don't want to create an account. And I know, like, if I've gone online and probably you've had the same experience of wanting to browse through products, or you're not quite ready yet to commit and put your dollars down, but you want to see how much everything costs. If you're forced to create an account first, you might not be at that stage where you're ready to give over your personal information or just go through the hassle of creating an account, then having to remember a password and come back to that. So make sure that that whole process isn't the first thing that you're asking your customers to do. Ideally, what you want to be thinking about, and this starts with your website, is minimizing the clicks that it takes to get to the programs that your customers want to register for. So if you are, for example, maybe a dance studio, do you have the option to let people sign up specifically for the classes that they've looked at on the website? So once they get into that registration form, are they going directly to, creative movement for 4-year-olds, or are they going directly to, an upper-level ballet class for, older students? Or do they have to go through and weed out and find your programs all over again? So make that number of clicks as short as possible. Another example is using categories. So maybe you have your program separated between day camps and overnight camps, or between different types of classes like languages. So if you offer French as opposed to Spanish or German, are people able to get to just those classes that they're interested in once they've made a determination on the website what they're looking for? We also, like I said, want to let people browse through the programs and look through those before creating an account. I know not everybody has all of their class or their program details on the website, and that's okay as long as you have those information provided in line in the registration process, and you can allow people to take a look at those programs and make some choices before they have to create that account, which Camp and Class Manager, of course, does. The other thing we want to be able to do is, we know that most of the time, especially in our industry, parents aren't just registering one child. Very often they're registering multiple children, or they might have a kid who's interested in different, multiple different program types. So the other thing that we do, and you want to make sure that you're doing with your registration, is giving people those dynamic filters so that they can search. We have lots and lots of different ways to break down and subdivide those programs, and we give people the easy ability to filter by location, by age, by program start time, different things like that. So make sure, again, that that's something easy for parents to do. And next on the website, too, another thing you can do to get more people engaged and in that registration funnel is create that feeling of scarcity. That's a very compelling psychological strategy when it comes to buyers. So make sure that they know if there's limited spots remaining or if you've got some kind of a promotion ending. Those are all important things to promote to get people in the door and started through that first phase of the registration funnel. The next thing that we know is that there's a lot of parents who leave a form, almost a third of them, because registering is too long or it's complicated. And we work with kids, right? This is a protected class of people. We need to make sure that there are some safeguards in place, like we're collecting medical information and allergy information and all of that stuff. But you really have to ask yourself, is it necessary to collect this information all right up front before someone gets registered or before they sign up for their classes? And very often we can answer ourselves that question, no. And we have the capabilities for parents to come back later and fill out online supplemental forms that they can complete. So I tell people this, and sometimes without, at the risk of sounding bad, take their money first. Just get that part out of the way, and then you can go through and ask them some of those questions. They're ready for that conversation. So when you're thinking about the registration form or we're looking through it, if you notice that there are a large number of people leaving that step of the registration form, there are some things to think about. So again, is everything autofilling the way that it could possibly be doing to speed up time? Oftentimes if I'm registering multiple kids, I feel like nothing's more annoying than having to provide our doctor information again, or basics like our address information all over again. We want those things to be autofilled for the parents to expedite that process. Again, ask yourself, is all of this data required now, or is there information that I can collect later? And again, we have a system where you can use follow-up forms and leverage those follow-up forms to make the intake process a little bit easier. The other thing, too, that we see a lot of is so many parents are registering from mobile devices these days. About 30% of our registrations on the Camping Class Manager platform come in through a mobile product. And you are always going to see greater numbers of people registering and completing those transactions on the desktop. But for parents who are on the go or who are looking to re-register, we want to make that as quick as possible. So make sure that in your process that everything is mobile friendly and optimized. As you can see here, these are actual screenshots of what our registration process looks like, and parents are able to do just that. All of the buttons are sized appropriately, the font is big enough for them to read, and elements that they have to click pass that thumb test. In other words, like it's big enough for someone's thumb to click on it without moving to a different page or a different site unintentionally. So all of those are important things to think about too in terms of looking at your funnel.
Another benefit of the flexibility of Camping Class Manager are the membership and tuition options available. Camping Class Manager makes it easy to keep track of participants' membership status. You can set up different levels of membership and run activity and summary reports so you can have ongoing memberships and tuition rates adjusted to best fit your organization's needs.
Well, before we wrap up, we just wanted to quickly find out if anyone is interested in working with us further and seeing how Active's Camping Class Manager software can be customized for your organization. So if that's something that you're interested in, you want to work with a digital marketing consultant, you want to find out more about how we can help with your programs, go ahead and click that submit box. Otherwise, you can click anywhere outside of that dialog box to dismiss that notification and be taken back to the regular screen.